And a very happy Tuesday to you at 12:07 in the West. It's the John Phillips Show. Mr. Randy Wangs in Culver City.
Well, Johnny, you said it. It is Election Day in California and a whole bunch of other states as well. But specifically, people are looking at California and Prop 50, the statewide special election. As of right now, according to latest data, the turnout rate is 29.5%. What does that mean? That means that of 23 million ballots that got sent out to Californians, 6.8 million have been returned. But that also means 16 million people either are going to vote today or they don't care.
So 7 out of 10 have not voted.
Yes.
All right.
If you want to break that down by party, of the 10.3 million Democrats in California, 3.5 million have voted, and that's a 33% turnout. Of the 5.8 million Republicans, 1.8 million ballots have been returned, a 31% turnout. And the 6.8 million no-party preferencers, 1.4 million ballots returned, 21%.
In addition to Prop 50 here in California, they're also voting in other states, including the state of Virginia, where it looks like the Democrats are likely to pick up that state house as Abigail Spanberger, who's a current member of Congress, has led the Republican candidate, the Lieutenant Governor, Winsome Earl Sears, in just about every poll that I have seen published in that state. In New Jersey, it looks like that race is quite a bit closer than in Virginia, the Democrat having a narrow lead in most of the public polls, but all of those polls within the margin of error, which means that that's going to come down to turnout. And then you have New York City, where it looks like the Big Apple could be turning to a socialist candidate to be mayor of Gotham. According to recent polls, the socialist candidate who's running as a Democrat has a healthy lead outside the margin of error over the next closest candidate, who is the former governor, Andrew Cuomo. And then you have running in third place the Republican candidate, who is a longtime morning man on WABC, Curtis Sliwa. He's the guardian angel, the guy always wearing the red beret. And a lot of people are asking the question right now, what if Sliwa would have gotten out of the race and gotten behind Cuomo and the anti-Mamdani vote all coalesce behind one candidate?
I don't know. Cuomo's still a pretty terrible candidate.
He's terrible, but he's not a socialist.
Yeah, but he's damaged goods, and there's a lot of people who remember what COVID was like when Cuomo was in charge of that state.
I get it. I understand being angry at that guy over how he governed that state during COVID, but it's not an essay question. It's a multiple choice exam.
Well, then there was also the harassment scandal.
He was a little frisky for a while, wasn't he?
Maybe there were people that just didn't want to vote for Cuomo based on the prop comedy he was doing with his brother on CNN.
Yeah, that was all grotesque.
Where they were holding up the giant Q-tips. They were doing bits.
Well, here's a question. If that election goes the way we assume it's going to go, and I would be very surprised if it doesn't, this socialist candidate could win by double digits. And if he wins by double digits, he instantly becomes a potential candidate for president in the Democratic primary, because he will be on the cover of magazines. He will be on the cover of big national newspapers. This guy will be arguably the most important local elected official in the entire country. And I'll tell you, it's a little bit of Back to the Future. Not long ago, both political parties used to have conservatives, moderates, and liberals in each party, and the parties broke down based on class and geography more than anything. But you had liberal Republicans, the Rockefeller Republicans we used to call them. You had conservative Republicans. You had liberal Democrats. You still have them to this day. But you used to have genuinely conservative Democrats. They called them Dixiecrats back in the old days. A lot of members of Congress from southern states who would vote Democratic in support of the Democratic candidates for president and up and down the ballot, but were pretty right-wing. And the Republican Party has not really flirted with socialism in a very long time. You really have to go back to a guy by the name of Bob La Follette, who was from the state of Wisconsin. You see things in Wisconsin, if you've ever been there, named after Bob La Follette, who at the time was a progressive Republican, a liberal Republican, who eventually split from the Republican Party and ran for president as an independent with backing from the socialists. That's where he landed ideologically. But that was the last time that the Republicans ever had a bold-faced name socialist in the party. The Democrats, they flirted with it every so often. We had Upton Sinclair here in California, who ran for governor on the Democratic ticket on the End Poverty in California program, the EPIC program. That was a long time ago. And now we have these DSA members elected to city councils. We have them here in Los Angeles. Ulysses Hernandez, for example, is a member of the DSA. Nithya Raman is a member of the DSA. And there's a whole block of them. And what are they at now? 4 or 5, Randy?
They're at 4 that are solidly confirmed. And by the way, those 4, which include Nithya Raman, Ulysses Hernandez, Isabel Jurado, and of course, Hugo Soto Martinez.
Yeah, clap that up.
They're going to a Mamdani watch party tonight.
Oh, I'm sure that'll be a festive event. But you also have the controller of the city, Kenneth Mejia, who is a member of the DSA. And it seems like every time we have an election, their ranks grow. They don't get smaller.
Well, if you look at the last election, specifically when they got an extra seat in the 14th district, yes, you could argue that the DSA is growing, but Kevin De Leon also thought he could still run for re-election.
And he, of course, was the former state senator, the former pro tem of the California Senate, who was engulfed in scandal after he was secretly recorded in a union hall talking about race-based redistricting. And that's when his career ended, and the careers of 2 other members of the council, Gil Cedillo and your councilwoman.
Yes, Nuri Martinez.
It is hot as hell.
And so I got Imelda thanks to that one.
Broken windy theory.
A very well-represented district you have. But it's not just in Los Angeles. We've seen a socialist mayor in Chicago get elected. And if you're looking at city councils, I think in Seattle, if they don't have a majority, they have a growing block on that council. And we could be looking at a scenario where the biggest challenger to Gavin Newsom in a Democratic primary is a socialist candidate. It could be Mamdani if he ends up generating a lot of interest and attention. It could be AOC. She's another candidate who is often spoken of as a potential presidential candidate. But we could be looking at a national version of what you're seeing right now in New York City, where you had a machine Democrat with 1,000,001 problems, which they had with Andrew Cuomo, and then you had a socialist candidate who was, I guess, generating all kinds of excitement among young people and the left wing of the Democratic Party.
Mamdani could definitely be the face of the party, but are you sure he can run for president? He was born in Uganda.
No, then he can't. Well, were his parents American citizens?
No.
Okay. Well, then he could throw his support behind AOC.
He immigrated to the U.S. when he was 7. So, yes, if you want that wing and the big face that has helped Mamdani get so much popularity is AOC, she could run. Mamdani's also only 34.
Okay. So I guess the age thing wouldn't be an issue, but he needs to have been born here. But AOC is someone who was an early supporter of Mamdani. And other Democrats, including Chuck Schumer, never really formally endorsed him. And today, Chuck Schumer went and voted, and they asked him who he voted for, and he wouldn't say. I'm telling you, when you combine the age issue, where you've seen older Democrats stick around too long, we saw that happen with Joe Biden. We saw that happen with Dianne Feinstein. We've seen that happen with a number of them. And you combine it with the fact that the left wing of the Democratic Party is growing in size within that party, you could end up with a scenario where in a one-on-one matchup of AOC versus Gavin Newsom loses. Because in this scenario, Gavin Newsom would be the Andrew Cuomo and AOC would be the Mamdani. Talk about a choice. Imagine if those are our choices in 2028. That would be quite something. So that's where we are right now nationally. Randy, let's take a closer look right now at Prop 50 and the likelihood that that initiative will pass.
Here's a report from NBC4 in Los Angeles and the legendary Conan Nolan.
Election day now just hours away. Voters are deciding on Proposition 50, the only item on the statewide ballot. NBC4's Conan Nolan.
Although if you're in Santa Clara County, there's also a sales tax increase, so watch out for that one.
Oh, boy.
If you don't raise your own taxes, all the hospitals are going to close. Sure.
NBC4's Conan Nolan has been following this closely for months. And Conan, it's a major pushback by Governor Newsom against gerrymandering in Texas.
It certainly is. So 23 million ballots were mailed out by the Secretary of State's office and registrars around the 58 counties.
And you remember how when they originally mailed out the ballots and the voter guides, they then had to spend $2 million issuing a correction because they put the wrong map on there?
Oh, boy.
We understand about 6 million have been turned in. A higher percentage of registered Democrats have turned in their ballots than Republicans. Fact that you didn't have any rallies today, the day before the election, either for the yes campaign or the no campaign, might give you an indication as to where this is headed.
Yeah.
And there are going to be a lot of questions about what the no side did with their money, because I am telling you, I have spent a lot of time watching sports on TV over the last few weeks. We had the Dodgers in the World Series. Before that, we had the American League playoffs. We had the National League Championship Series. We have football games going on every Monday night, every Thursday night, every Sunday, all day. College football on Saturday. We have the NBA season going on. We have the NHL season going on. And I can count on one hand how many No on 50 television ads I have seen. They raised $80 million. Where did that money go? I have seen no evidence that they're spending it in any way that is at least in front of my face.
Now, have we looked at admissions for high-priced colleges for the children of political consultants?
That's a good question.
At a rally over the weekend at the Convention Center, California's Democratic Party leadership echoed the message one final time, that Proposition 50 at its core is a referendum on a president California has never liked.
We've got to put some check.
Oh, no.
It's Karen Bass is the face of the movement, huh?
Rally Bass. Rally Bass is the worst Bass.
California has never liked.
We've got to put some checks and balances on this guy.
When times are tough, we stand up.
Oh, and of course, Padilla.
He thinks he's going to be governor.
Well, have you seen who else is running?
Did you see that Eric Swalwell's thinking about jumping in now?
A whole bunch of people are going to think about jumping in. Why not?
We are fighting back.
What? You're worried about Tony Thurmond?
Well, Katie Porter can be violent.
Yeah, but she's done. Nobody's thinking about Porter anymore. Antonia Villaraigosa put up some nonsensical thing. In a theoretical matchup between Porter and Villaraigosa, Villaraigosa wins by 20 points.
I saw that.
We are fighting back. We're going to pass this proposition.
Yeah.
I don't actually know who that one was.
I think that was Adam Schiff.
We are fighting back. We're going to pass this proposition.
He sounds like he's doing a droopy dog impression.
I saw a picture of him today. He was wearing a fedora.
That's not a good look for him.
Yes on 50.
The measure slices and dices Republican regions and neighborhoods in such a way as to limit GOP clout in next year's midterm elections. It's believed that as a result, 5 more Democrats will be elected to Congress next year. The ballot box gerrymandering, a response to what President Trump demanded and received from Texas, where the Republican legislature there carved out 5 more GOP seats. The tit for tat is all about which party controls the House of Representatives. A Democratic Party majority would mean curtains for the president's legislative agenda for the final 2 years of his term in office.
They really haven't had much of a legislative agenda the first 2 years.
Go back to the conversation we had yesterday with the Assemblyman, Rick Chavez Burr. When I asked him about the Independent Commission, and he said the Independent Commission is coming back for sure at the next census. And I said, yes, but the same dynamic will be true then that is true now, which is we have no control in California over what other states do. And you can almost certainly predict that there will be states that gerrymander up their congressional districts. So you have to go into it with that working assumption. And the answer was, yes, but we'd have to go back to the voters. Meaning there's already a plan on what to do to make sure that commission doesn't come back.
Well, and we'll probably get to the sound later in the show. Ashley Zavala sat down with Adam Schiff over the weekend and asked him specifically about that. And he started saying, well, it actually depends on what happens in other states. So there's definitely wiggle room to not give back the independent redistricting process.
Yes, but it's really not even a question mark because you know some of them are going to gerrymander up the districts. That's a given.
Governor Gavin Newsom yesterday on Meet the Press.
His recklessness aside, his style aside, the substance he hasn't delivered. And that's why, again, we're here, Prop 50, because he knows he's going to lose the midterms and he's trying to rig the election before one vote is cast.
For California's Republicans, it was an uphill battle from the start. Fundraising has been less than expected, and there's concern about enthusiasm.
Okay, less than expected, yes, but they still raised $80 million. That's a lot of money. You should see some evidence of spending if they raised $80 million, and I haven't seen it.
There's a lot of grifting in the California Republican politics.
Over 400,000 Republican voters in Orange County have yet to cast a ballot, prompting the OC GOP to send out a call for faithful not to wait, but send in their ballots or vote in person today. And the one figure who could potentially increase turnout has largely been on the sidelines, which in a very blue state is a good thing, says consultant Rob Stutzman.
The no campaign is predicated upon Democrats trying to draw their own lines, politicians choosing their voters instead of voters choosing them. None of their message is protect Donald Trump. And I think Donald Trump speaking out against Prop 50 only validates the theory of the case that the Yes campaign is trying to prosecute.
Both sides trying to get out their vote. Just about every poll over the past 2 weeks indicates the ballot measure is leading.
Yeah, it's probably going to pass.
All right, here's your opportunity to weigh in. If you want to weigh in on Prop 50, we'd love to hear from you. If you want to weigh in on the mayor's race in New York City, on the gubernatorial races in Virginia or in New Jersey, or what all of this means as we head to the midterms, we'd love to hear from you at 800-222-5222. 1-800-222-5222. 800-222-5222 is the telephone number. 1-800-222-5222. The Fix California Hour coming up after the news at 1. Roxanne Hogue, the chairwoman of the LA County GOP, joins us. If you want to email the show, you can do so at johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. That's johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. And Randy, we got a ton of email yesterday based on our interview with Assemblyman Rick Chavez Burr. If you missed it and you want to find out what you missed out on, that's easy to do.
And can we all give Johnny a round of applause? He did not do the voice and ruin his throat.
I'm going on vacation. I need to be able to order my scotch on the plane.
Search for The John Phillips Show wherever you get your podcasts, whether it's the Apple Podcasts app, iHeart, Spotify. Search for The John Phillips Show. Hit subscribe. You can download all the podcasts.
All right, let's go to James in Glendale. James, hello.
Hi, good to talk to you. I think that the Republican Party really dropped the ball on the whole no campaign. I don't know if you remember, but a couple years ago, a bunch of LA City Council members, Democrats, were recorded redistricting, making all kinds of racist comments and trying to dilute the black vote. I don't know why the Republicans didn't make that an issue.
Well, whenever you gerrymander a state or a city or a county or whatever, you're doing it so that the politicians pick their voters rather than the other way around. And that was certainly discussed in that conversation that you just referenced that ended the careers of those three council members who were recorded on that tape talking about it. And certainly that would be the case should Prop 50 pass statewide in California when it comes to congressional district lines. That being said, you have to be out there making the case. And the party people were out there. I saw the chairwoman of the Republican Party statewide at events in Orange County, and I just saw that she was in Sacramento. She's doing that. And we're going to have Roxanne Hogue on at 1 o'clock, and she's going to make the case against Prop 50 today. But it's not like the old days when the money ran through the parties. In the old days, people used to write checks. It would go to the party, and the party was responsible for spending the money. And if they spent it in a prudent way and they got the desired result, they were rewarded. And if they wasted the money, then they were punished. But right now, we have a situation where the money doesn't run through the parties. The money runs through all of these independent organizations or sometimes just individuals with an agenda. If you look at the money that was spent on the yes side, there are any number of individuals who were spending to not just boost Prop 50, but to boost their own personal careers. We saw Gavin Newsom doing it. We saw Alex Padilla doing it. Rick Caruso was doing it. Tom Steyer was doing it. And I know, for example, that the people on the yes side were all furious with Tom Steyer because those ads were so gross and self-promoting that when you do a focus group, his yes ads are more likely to flip people to no. So they wish that guy had spent $0 as opposed to whatever it was that he spent. But on the no side, the money wasn't run through the Republican Party. You had Kevin McCarthy raising a bunch of money. You had Jessica Patterson, the former chairwoman of the Republican Party, raising money. You had other individuals in the assembly who have their own accounts and committees, and they were raising money. And there wasn't any kind of organized effort to combat the yes messaging. We just heard in the newscast that I guess there are not enough Republican votes coming in Orange County to make the no side happy. Well, if you have $80 million, why aren't you advertising? If you're trying to speak to voters in Orange County, why am I not seeing your ads every time the Ducks go to commercial? Why am I not hearing those ads every time the Ducks go to commercial on the radio? There are ways that you can reach out to people in Orange County and you can get in front of those voters and remind them to vote. But as I said in the previous segment, I don't know where that money went. Maybe they're speaking to people other than me. Maybe they have an idea as to who the voters are that they need to turn out to win this election, and I'm not one of them. But just based on how I consume my television, how I consume my radio, how I consume my internet, I'm not seeing those ads. I got a couple of pieces in the mail. I've seen a couple of things on TV. I've seen some signs around town, but that was essentially it. On the other side, with the yes campaign, I'm oversaturated. Everywhere I turn, that's all I see. Well, they were outraised 2-1. But being outraised 2-1 doesn't mean that for every 10 commercials for the yes side, I should see one on the no side. What happened to that money? At some point, we need to figure that out. Thank you for the call. Let's go to Aaron in Orange. Aaron, hello.
Oh, hi, John. Yeah, I'm in, obviously Orange County, and I haven't seen a single ad for the no campaign at all. And I do consume media, and I haven't seen anything. But our district is, I think it's either 40 or 41, I forget, but it's Young Kim's district. And they're extending it all the way out to Moreno Valley. I mean, it's going to be like 10 times the size as it is right now. And so that's really ridiculous. And then the other thing that bothers me is they're saying that it's temporary. There is no way this is going to be temporary. I don't believe them for 1 minute. Just like when they say, oh, we need a temporary tax to fund X, Y, and Z, that tax stays on there forever.
Yeah, I don't think this is going to be temporary. And they're already making plans on how to make it permanent, which is it's going to have to go to another vote of the people. And they're going to say, well, they don't have an independent commission in Ohio, so why should we have it here? So let's get rid of the independent commission a second time, and we'll go back to a gerrymandered map. And it's just going to go on forever. And they'll likely do the same thing for the state legislature, because if you're a member of the state legislature and you're in a competitive district and you ask yourself the question, why should we fix all of the elections for the members of Congress but not fix them for us too? Because we have to raise a ton of money, and we're going to have a hard time getting our people to turn out because there's going to be no interest in the elections. So why not fix the state legislative seats too? And it gets to be real easy to do things like that.
Yep. And this is the perfect example of the tyranny of the majority that the founders wanted to avoid. This is just perfect. Now we'll have zero voice after this. Anybody that, is either an independent on the conservative side or, Republican will have zero voice after this. It's really sad.
All right. Thanks for the call. Let's go to Steve in Corona. Steve, hello.
Hello. When this communist wins the race in New York City, you can officially put a wall around the city and it'll become Escape from New York. And they'll just have to live with it.
Oh, can you imagine what that city is going to look like when you put a socialist in charge?
Hey, here in California, I thought he was bad, but I'm just going to sit back with the popcorn and just watch New York just get absolutely destroyed.
Well, if they live through de Blasio, maybe they can live through this guy too, but why roll the dice? Thank you for the call. Let's go to Patrick in San Jose. Patrick, hello.
Yeah, how you doing? Nice talking to you. I was just wondering, you guys talking a lot about, if it passes, if it doesn't pass, but if it does pass, what's the options after that? Isn't it possible that some of that $80 million is being put aside for legal actions?
I'm sure there will be lawsuits, but you're going to go to judges in California. So what do you think Newsom appointed judges are going to do?
It'll be on our side.
What's that?
There's got to be some judges. Yeah, because they're always shopping for judges on the Democrat side. There's got to be some here that we can shop for and get something put down where it's kind of stalls it. And it just seems funny, too, that here, there's not been a lot of talk about it, but even in Washington, there hasn't been a lot of talk about this. And it just seems like there's something else going on. Like maybe they want this to happen so they can just open it up for everything.
Maybe they'll find a friendly judge. I know they took him to court before the election was put on the ballot, and those efforts were unsuccessful. I don't think a judge is going to stand in the way of a vote, but I could be wrong. Thank you for the call. Let's go to Mark in San Diego. Mark, hello.
Hey, guys, you're the best show on radio, man. First, I just have to say that this is, very childish. So I have 2 kids in preschool, and they come home and say that they want to do something because some other kid did it. The answer is still no. So Newsom's a child. It's wrong. And what's going to happen now if this passes, which it probably will, is that things are going to flip on a dime. The House of Representatives is going to start to flip on a dime, and they won't be able to get anything done, and you won't be represented locally. But besides that, I guess the reason I called was I wanted to follow up on probably what the last caller was getting at, and push back on your $80-some million. I mean, that's a great point, but you'll never find out because donations to campaigns, like taxes, are fungible. They go wherever they want them to go. Maybe they are trying to shop for a good lawsuit, and maybe the state of California will be too busy fighting the federal government to put it on their agenda, and this will just go through the California court system's slow. So maybe that'll happen. But it's just the stupidest idea ever. This should not happen, but it is. is happening.
I wish I could say I think you're right, but I don't. I think there's a lot of pigs at the trough. There's a lot of people who are taking their cut, and they saw this as an opportunity to raise money. Because let's face it, for people who are in the profession of politics, what they need is a campaign or they need an issue. And as long as they can raise money off of a campaign or an issue, they can take their cut. One of the biggest scams in all of politics is to find a race that is unwinnable. However, the person who is going to win the race is someone who is famous and has a lot of people who hate them. So, for example, if Maxine Waters is running for re-election, a congresswoman from Los Angeles who's been there forever, a left-wing Democrat, and she's got a lot of people on the Republican side who hate her guts because she is a very vocal Democrat. Well, if you are the person running against her, you have a 0% chance of winning that election. There is no way any Republican is going to beat Maxine Waters. However, because people hate her, you can raise money. You can put ads on Facebook. You can send people letters in the mail. You can text message people asking for money. If you hate Maxine Waters, send $55 here. If you want
that's a great point. That's a great point. But I mean, I like that point. But then what do you do with the fact that Newsom said, don't give us any more money?
Well, it's because Newsom
make any sense?
Newsom is running for president, and this is his way of winning the election. In the example that I gave, the goal is not to win the election. The goal is to raise as much money as possible so you can take your cut. It's two totally different outcomes that they're looking for.
Right. You're right. And you're right about Tom's Tire too. What an idiot. You guys make me laugh every day, and I'm glad you're lighthearted about it. Thanks for the show.
All right. Thanks for the call, sir. 800-222-5222 is the telephone number. 1-800-222-5222. 800-222-5222 is the telephone number. 1-800-222-5222. The Fix California Hour coming up after the news at 1. Let's go back to the phones and welcome Janet in Fullerton. Janet, hello.
No, I don't have a Janet.
All right. Let's go to Eric in L.A. Eric, hello.
Hello. This whole Prop 50 scheme is running amazingly parallel to what Hugo Chavez did in Venezuela. They took the wealthiest country in South America, and now we have obviously the wealthiest state in the Union. And what he did is simply appeal to the poor people of Venezuela. He said, if you vote for me, I will redistribute this wealth. I will give a lot of jobs. And he in fact, created 10,000 new no qualifications job in the oil industry alone down there once he was elected. But what he did is he began immediately to reduce the powers of the different aspects of the government, of the legislature and so on. And then he engaged in a massive gerrymandering of all of the districts in Venezuela so that he would never lose an election again.
Yeah, I mean, that's the goal. Once you're in office, once you have power, the goal is to keep power. And if you can make it so that your elections aren't competitive, you can stay there longer. And then within the legislative body, you can, if you can do it in enough places, in enough states, then you can potentially give yourself a majority. And that's what they're trying to do right now. And if you live in California and you want good representation, that's not the way to do it. Because right now we have very poor government services in California, whether it's dealing with the homeless or dealing with the bullet train or dealing with crime or insurance regulation, whatever the case may be. But politics is something that's a big umbrella. If your city needs a bridge, if your city needs something from the federal government, right now, I'm not going to say it's apolitical because it's political. It's a food fight over who gets what. But it's based on how responsive your member is to your district more than anything. What kind of seniority they have, what kind of power and influence they have in Washington, D.C., and whether or not they're willing to use one of their chits to make you happy and to make that particular community happy. Well, if you're going to use a chit, why would you use a chit for a part of your district that's so remote you don't care about it? And particularly if it's a part of your district that really doesn't have political power. They don't have the power to keep you there or send you home. They're there because they're bleeding. You're taking votes away from one district where they matter and dumping them into your district where they don't matter. And the answer is you do nothing for them because you don't have to. And so the end result in California will be, yes, the Democrats will have more votes in the House of Representatives. That might trigger other states into doing the same thing that counteract what California is doing. But if you just live here and you're looking for good services, or you're looking to make sure that your city gets the infrastructure projects they need or whatever the case may be, say goodbye to all of that, because that's not going to happen. Let's go to Robert. Robert, hello.
Hey, John and Randy. I called in a little while ago about luxury policies. Miller and the whole Steve Bannon flooded zone's kind of backfired. They should have done the Doge. You audit for the whole year. Don't fire a person to show your results. That brought out the lunatic fringe, whether you fired anyone, I would think. But it also escalated the heat in this country for more people coming out to protest. And then this Prop 50 thing has really backfired because, California really does matter. And we're facing things like with the uniparty of things like a wealth tax and getting rid of Prop 13 with more of a supermajority. This is outright confiscation. You have a socialist Sluffington mindset out there. They've been trolled. They want the free stuff and things like not being really obvious about, okay, we go down to a farm and we just don't immediately find out who the criminals are, but everybody's going to get a work visa the day we show up if you're an honest person, because you got to be more generous, because you got to look at it this way, in my opinion. Biden invited these people here to walk across from South America, didn't even bus them in, which is atrocious to begin with. But we got to be more accommodating and kind of meet it in the middle. There was a lot of tempting going on because we have a mass amount of basically dependents we brought in here. We got to explain to people we can carry 5 million max dependents and still maybe try to rebuild our military and then get energy independence. But we have to also have a merit system. But this is opposing what people are going to get immediate amnesty. But that would be a lottery figure. But be more gentle and honest, because right now there are a lot of angry people who think that Trump's taking their money away. And
Sir, we're against a hard break here, so I got to run. But thank you for the call. We appreciate it. Roxanne Hogue joins us next. It's the Fix California Hour right here on the John Phillips Show.